The Galactic Council had always monitored the movements of humanity. Humans were different from other species. They were fast learners, unpredictable warriors, and full of strange ideas. Some empires feared them. Some respected them. Others wanted to control them. But no one could ignore them. Then, one day, everything changed. The monitoring stations across the galaxy picked up nothing. No signals, no messages, no fleet movements. It was as if humanity had vanished overnight. The news spread quickly. The 5 great empires, the most powerful forces in the galaxy, held emergency meetings. The HFY Empire, known for its powerful warships, believed humans were hiding, planning something dangerous. The HFY Dominion, a race of traitors and spies, feared a great disaster had wiped them out. The Krull Imperium, a brutal species that had once fought humanity in war, refused to believe they were gone. The Sirek Alliance, a cautious and intelligent race, demanded an investigation. The Vorkan hegemony, the most secretive of them all, remained silent, their leaders deep in thought. In every empire, fear spread like wildfire. Humanity was strong, but they were also reckless. If they had disappeared, there had to be a reason. And if something was powerful enough to make humans vanish, then no one in the galaxy was safe. The Galactic Council sent probes toward human space. At first, everything seemed normal. Until the probes got closer. The great trade routes leading to Earth were empty. Space stations orbiting human colonies were silent. Even the massive shipyards that once built the mighty human war fleets showed no activity. A deep unease settled over the alien leaders. Humanity had thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, and countless colonies. They were everywhere. How could they all just disappear? Whispers spread among the alien worlds. Some believed humans had found a new home, a secret refuge in deep space. Others thought they had developed a terrible weapon, one that made them invisible to the galaxy. But the darkest theory was the one that no one wanted to speak aloud. What if something had taken them? The HFY sent a fleet of scouts toward the solar system. They moved carefully, weapons ready, expecting a human ambush. But no attack came. The HFY sent spies to old human trading hubs, searching for survivors, but they found nothing. The Krull, always eager for a fight, sent warships toward Mars. They wanted to claim human space for themselves. But as they entered the solar system, they too fell silent. The Galactic Council watched in horror. One by one, the ships sent to investigate humanity's disappearance stopped responding. There were no distress calls, no warnings, just silence. The Sirek scientists analyzed the last transmissions from the missing ships. They found something disturbing. Just before the ships vanished, their sensors detected a strange energy signature, something unlike anything seen before. It wasn't human. It wasn't from any known species. The Vorkan hegemony, the most mysterious of the 5 great empires, finally broke their silence. Their spies had gathered secret information. They sent a message to the other empires, a warning. Do not go near human space. Do not search for them. Stay away. The message caused chaos. Some empires wanted to listen. Others refused. The Krull, too proud to be afraid, gathered an entire fleet and sent it toward Earth. They wanted to claim human technology, human weapons, human power. They ignored all warnings. Days passed, then weeks. No word came from the Krull fleet. And so, the galaxy held its breath. The 5 great empires were no strangers to war, destruction, and betrayal. They had seen civilizations rise and fall. They had fought battles that turned entire planets into dust. But this was different. Humanity was not just another empire. They had survived wars against stronger enemies, built weapons that shook the stars, and spread their influence far beyond their home system. They were loud, defiant, and always moving forward. And now, they were silent. The fear of the unknown spread through every empire like a shadow. It was not the kind of fear that came from an approaching enemy fleet or a political coup. It was deeper, more unsettling. It was the kind of fear that came from knowing something was wrong, but having no idea what it was. The Auxiliary Supreme Commander paced inside his war chamber. His advisors whispered theories. Some believed the humans had developed a stealth technology so advanced that even the most powerful sensors couldn't detect them. Others suggested that humanity had finally turned on itself. That war had consumed them from within. But none of these theories explained why the entire species had gone dark at the same time. The Wulivath Dominion, masters of information and deception, were desperate for answers. Their agents had infiltrated human space for centuries, trading secrets and technology. Now they could find nothing. No messages, no survivors, not even a black market deal. It was as if humanity had never existed. The Sarek scientists worked tirelessly, analyzing every piece of data. The last transmissions from the missing ships showed no signs of attack, no signs of human activity, just an eerie silence before they too vanished. The Sarek High Council issued a warning to all empires. Do not send more ships. Do not investigate further. Whatever is out there, it does not want to be found. But the Krull Imperium had never been good at listening to warnings. The Krull were warriors. They had fought against humanity before and lost. Now, with no humans left to fight back, they saw an opportunity. They would take what was left, claim Earth as their own, and strip humanity's colonies of resources and technology. The Krull Supreme Warlord gathered his greatest fleet, over 1,000 warships, each capable of reducing a planet to rubble. They entered human space, laughing at the other empire's fear. For 3 days, the fleet sent back regular reports. They found abandoned stations, lifeless colonies, and silent cities. The Krull were pleased. They planned their conquest, sending engineers to reactivate human factories. On the 4th day, the reports stopped. The Galactic Council watched, waiting for any sign of the Krull fleet. But there was nothing. No distress signals, no emergency broadcasts, no final words of defiance. The warships that had once burned entire worlds had simply ceased to exist. The silence became unbearable. Even the most war-hungry empires hesitated. If the Krull fleet, the strongest force in the sector, had disappeared without a trace, then what chance did anyone else have? Then, something changed. A deep space monitoring station on the edge of human space picked up a transmission. It was faint, broken, but unmistakably Krull. The signal lasted only a few seconds before vanishing, but those few seconds were enough to send the entire galaxy into panic. The transmission was a voice recording from a Krull captain. His voice, usually full of arrogance and rage, was trembling with terror. They are not gone. And then, silence once more. The 5 great empires were paralyzed with fear. The Krull fleet, once the pride of their warrior race, had disappeared without a trace. No wreckage, no distress signals, no signs of battle, just silence. It was the same eerie silence that had swallowed humanity. The Galactic Council met in secret. For the first time in centuries, all 5 empires sat at the same table, their differences momentarily forgotten. They had fought wars against each other, betrayed alliances, and competed for dominance. But now, they faced something they could not understand. The Wulivath Dominion demanded caution. The Sarek Alliance insisted on scientific analysis. The Auxiliary Warlords wanted to prepare for battle. The Vorten hegemony, silent as always, watched and listened. The Krull Imperium, broken by their fleet's disappearance, said nothing. Despite the warnings, the Council made a decision. A single, unmanned probe would be sent to the last known location of the Krull fleet. No crew, no weapons, just cameras, sensors, and a data relay. If there was anything left of the fleet, the probe would find it. The probe launched from a distant station at the edge of human space. It traveled through the darkness, passing through the once busy trade routes that now stood empty. It moved past abandoned colonies, drifting cargo ships, and silent stations. It sent back images of dead worlds, empty streets, and cities frozen in time. Humanity had not fallen to war or destruction. Everything was intact, untouched, yet completely lifeless. Then the probe reached the last recorded location of the Krull fleet. At first, there was nothing. Just the endless void of space. No debris, no signs of battle. The probe's sensors picked up strange energy readings, but they were unlike anything seen before. The Council scientists struggled to make sense of the data. The energy signature was shifting, changing, as if it was not part of the natural universe. Then the probe's cameras detected movement. Not a ship, not a structure. Something else. Something vast. Something that existed just beyond the edge of comprehension, flickering in and out of reality. It was not a fleet, not an army, not a weapon. It was something far worse. The probe's data stream became corrupted. The cameras blurred. The transmission filled with static. And then, for a single second, the image stabilized. The Council chambers fell silent as the image appeared on their screens. The Krull fleet was there, but it was wrong. The ships were intact, but they were lifeless. Their engines were dead. Their weapons were cold. They looked frozen, locked in time, as if they had been caught in the moment of their disappearance. And then they moved. Not under their own power, not as ships should move. They drifted, slowly, unnaturally, pulled by something unseen. A shadow passed over them. The probe's transmission cut out. The data feed went dark. Panic erupted in the Council chambers. The empires had feared that something had taken humanity. Now, they knew. Something was out there. Something had taken the Krull. And now, it knew they were watching. The silence that followed the probe's disappearance was more terrifying than the loss of the Krull fleet itself. The 5 great empires, powerful and proud, had ruled the stars for centuries, yet they now sat frozen in fear. The Galactic Council chamber was heavy with tension, each representative struggling to understand what they had seen. The Krull warships had been there, but they had not been alive. They had been pulled, moved by something unseen, something beyond their understanding. And that shadow, something massive, something wrong, had passed over them before the transmission ended. For the first time in history, the Krull Imperium was silent. The mighty warriors who once laughed in the face of death now refused to speak. The loss of their fleet had been a humiliation, but the horror of what had happened to it had shattered them. Even they did not wish for revenge. They only wished to forget. The Vorten hegemony, always secretive, had known something. The other empires turned to them, demanding answers, but the Vorten leaders gave only a warning. You should not look any further. The humans understood this. That is why they left. The Xilari warlords scoffed at the idea. They refused to believe that humanity had simply run. If they had fled, where had they gone? If they had hidden, how had they erased every trace of their existence? It was impossible. And if something had truly come for them, then the Xilari wanted to know what. Without permission from the Council, the Xilari sent their own expedition. A small fleet of warships, equipped with the best weapons and strongest shields their empire could build, set course for Earth. They did not believe in caution. They believed in power. The ships entered the Sol system cautiously, weapons ready. Mars, once a thriving human colony, was dark and lifeless. The massive orbital stations that once controlled trade across the sector floated silently, untouched yet abandoned. Earth itself came into view, and what they saw sent shivers through even the strongest Xilari warriors. The planet was whole. There was no sign of war, no destruction, no disaster. The great cities stood as they always had, towers reaching toward the sky, streets perfectly intact. But there was no life, no movement, no power. It was as if the entire population had simply walked away. The Xilari landed a small scouting team on the surface. They moved through the streets of human cities, their armored boots echoing through the empty buildings. Stores were still stocked. Vehicles sat in place as if waiting for their owners to return. There were no bodies, No signs of struggle. No signs of evacuation. Then they found the first message. It was carved into the wall of a great building, written in a language no alien should have been able to read. Yet, somehow, the auxiliary soldiers understood it. Do not stay. One of the soldiers felt a sudden chill. He turned, scanning the empty street. Something about this place was wrong. The silence was too complete, the air too still. It was as if the city itself was holding its breath. The team moved deeper into the city, searching for more clues. And then, on the walls of an ancient human monument, they found the second message. We are not gone. The moment the words were spoken aloud, the shadows deepened. The sky seemed darker. The wind, which had not moved before, began to stir. And then, far in the distance, a sound, low, deep, unnatural. It was not an echo. It was not the wind. Something else was there. The commander ordered an immediate retreat. The soldiers ran back to their ships, their scanners going wild. Distortions in the air, unexplainable energy spikes. And behind them, just out of sight, the sound followed. As the auxiliary fleet lifted off, their sensors detected a new signal, something broadcasting from deep beneath the surface of the Earth. The transmission was garbled, broken, as if coming from another time, another place. The crew barely had time to process the message before the first ship vanished. Not destroyed, not attacked, simply gone. Panic overtook the fleet. They turned and fled, abandoning the mission, abandoning the planet. One by one, their ships vanished, pulled into the same nothingness that had claimed the crawl. Only a single vessel made it back to auxiliary space, the crew broken and haunted. They spoke little, but what little they said sent terror through the entire empire. They had not found humanity. They had found where humanity had been. And something else had been there with them. The single surviving auxiliary ship drifted into the home system of its empire, battered and broken, its crew shaken beyond recognition. The warlords who had once demanded answers from the darkness now received them, but none of them wanted to listen. The transmissions from Earth were studied, analyzed, and debated. The first message had been clear. Do not stay. A warning. Perhaps even a final act of mercy from a species that had understood something the rest of the galaxy did not. But the second message was worse. We are not gone. The words carried weight beyond mere survival. They were not a plea for help. They were not a distress signal. They were a statement, and they felt like a promise. The scientists and strategists of the 5 great empires searched for explanations. Some suggested that humanity had ascended, evolving beyond physical form, leaving behind only the echo of their existence. Others believed they had hidden themselves in some unknown dimension, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. But the most terrifying theory was the one whispered behind closed doors, the idea that humanity had not left at all. What if they had been changed? What if they had been taken? The Vorten hegemony spoke at last, revealing knowledge they had kept hidden for centuries. Their spies had infiltrated human space long ago, studying the unpredictable species with growing fascination. What they learned disturbed them. Humanity had always been different. Other species evolved through slow, careful adaptation. Humans did not. When faced with destruction, they changed. When confronted with superior forces, they refused to bow. Where others broke, they adapted, surviving things that should have erased them. And then, just before their disappearance, something had changed. Humanity had begun experiments into fields of science the rest of the galaxy dared not touch: dimensional manipulation, quantum consciousness, the very fabric of existence itself. The Vorten warned the Council that this was not a simple vanishing act. Humanity had not been erased. They had gone somewhere. Or worse, something had come for them. The Igath Dominion immediately pulled their forces away from human space, sealing their borders. The Seric Alliance declared all further investigations forbidden. The Krall, still lost in their shame and fear, remained silent. The Xelari, after losing an entire fleet and nearly losing another, finally abandoned their arrogance. But it was too late. Something was moving in the darkness. Deep space sensors across multiple empires began detecting strange distortions, anomalies where space itself twisted and bent. These anomalies were growing, spreading outward from the heart of human space. They did not behave like black holes or natural phenomena. They were deliberate. And they were getting closer. At first, the Council tried to hide the truth. They did not want panic. But the universe does not care for secrecy. Strange broadcasts began appearing on every frequency, garbled messages in no known language, whispers layered with static, impossible to trace. Shadows moved where shadows should not exist. Entire ships reported hearing voices in the silence of space. And then, one by one, they started to disappear. Not just in human space, not just the foolish or the reckless. Ships from every empire, merchants, explorers, even war fleets, began vanishing without explanation. The energy signatures detected around Earth were now appearing in random locations across the galaxy. The fear that had been contained to the Council now spread to the people. Civilizations trembled. Planets were placed under lockdown. Armies were mobilized, though no one knew what they were supposed to fight. And in the final days before the chaos truly began, a new message was received. It did not come from any empire. It did not come from any known transmission source. It simply arrived. It contained no images, no threats, no explanations, just a single sentence. You should have left us alone. And the galaxy realized, too late, that humanity had never been missing. They had only been waiting. Panic consumed the galaxy. The 5 great empires, who once believed themselves to be the masters of the stars, now lived in fear of the unknown. The strange anomalies were growing more frequent, swallowing entire fleets without a trace. Worlds on the borders of human space reported eerie disturbances, lights flickering in unnatural patterns, whispers in the static of their communications, shadows moving where no shadows should exist. But the worst part was the waiting. The empires had always feared war. War could be planned for, fought, and sometimes won. But this was something else. There was no enemy to fight, no ships to chase, no demands to meet. Just the growing, suffocating presence of something unseen. The Serac Alliance's most advanced observatory, stationed at the edge of their core worlds, was the first to detect the impossible. A fleet was moving through space, an armada of ships, vast and overwhelming. But when the sensors tried to identify them, they found nothing. No life signs, no heat signatures. The ships were there, but they were not alive. It was the Crawl fleet, the one that had disappeared. Except now, they were different. Their hulls were intact, their engines still in place, but the ships drifted with unnatural precision, moving without propulsion. The lights within their corridors flickered erratically, and inside, there were things moving, things that were no longer Crawl. The transmission from the observatory lasted only a few minutes before it cut off. When a Serac warship was sent to investigate, the station was gone, not destroyed, not in ruins, simply missing. The Xelari warlords, desperate to prove their dominance once more, launched an attack against one of the anomalies. A fleet of 500 of their strongest warships gathered near the edge of human space, weapons primed. They would show the galaxy that there was still something to fight. The battle was over before it began. Their ships never fired a shot. The moment they entered the anomaly's range, their systems failed. Their engines powered down. Their weapons became useless. And then, one by one, the ships turned, not by their own control, but as if something else had reached inside their systems, inside their very hulls, and made them move. The last transmission from the Xelari fleet was garbled, filled with static. But the last words of their admiral were clear. They are here. Then, silence. The 5 great empires now knew the truth. Humanity had not disappeared. They had become something else. Something beyond life and death, beyond war, beyond the limits of the galaxy's understanding. Whatever had happened to them, whatever they had become, they were no longer bound by the laws of existence that the rest of the universe obeyed. And they were coming back.